is a reading from Ray Valtorta's Notebooks, 1943, July the 11th. Jesus says, "Whoever kills love kills peace. The more alive love is, the more alive peace is. Do you want the measure of how a being loves? Observe whether or not he has peace with himself. Whoever loves acts rightly. In acting rightly, he experiences no disturbance. This is valid for all forms of love. Under certain aspects, natural love does not differ from spiritual love, nor can it be said that it differs in reactions. When a creature does not love or loves another creature poorly, that creature is restless, suspicious, and given to distrusting and constantly increasing offenses, and, automatically, suspicions and restlessness. Furthermore, when a creature does not love or loves its God poorly, restlessness boundlessly increases and no longer permits peace. Like a fatal wind, it drags the poor soul farther and farther from the port, and the soul eventually perishes wretchedly if a miracle of divine goodness does not intervene to save it. It is logical that it should be that way. God is blameless with respect to you, hence you have an absolute obligation to love him, for he gives you love, and love asks for love. When you deny God love, you fall, as a natural consequence, into the power of the prince of evil. You leave the light, and the darkness enfolds you. Then the torment begins, which is the preparatory phase for future afflictions. But the loving soul, sure that it is loving, is in peace. Its neighbor may accuse it of all the most wicked things. Circumstances may have the appearance of heavenly punishment, but the soul will not depart from its peace. Since it knows that it loves, it fears nothing. Look at John. 'One of you will betray me,' I said. And that sentence was like a spark cast into an industrious hive. They were all offended by it. The guilty one even went so far as to denounce himself spontaneously by saying, 'Is it perhaps me?' and obtaining my affirmative reply, which only the other's blindness allowed not to be understood. Sin possesses these acts of imprudence. It blinds to the point that it leads to self-accusation. But John, the faithful lover, did not move his head from my chest. His peace remained unruffled. He knew that he loved me, and the way he loved me. Against every accusation and reproach, he had his charity and his purity as a defense. He remained with his head, unable to betray, upon the heart, unable to betray. I give you John as a model. I have been giving him to you for years as an intercessor. Remember, first he interceded. Now he instructs you on the two qualities which make a disciple beloved, charity and purity. The more you grow in them, the more peace will grow in you, and with peace, total abandonment upon my heart. The death of lovers is not a mutation, it is a perfection. You pass from the rest, obstructed by matter, to the free rest of the Spirit in God. It is nothing but a tighter embrace in a more vibrant light. This is the death I reserve for those loving me, a death of peace, after a life of peace, and, in my kingdom, eternal peace." On July the 12th, he says, "Do you know why I ask even more for intense reparation and universal prayers to the Most Holy Sacrament? Out of justice. God is just even in the most insignificant things. Consider whether he does not want to be just in relation to worship of him. The sacrament concentrates the body and blood, soul and divinity of your Jesus. Therefore, in praying in a spirit of reparation to me as Eucharist, one prays not only to my body, but to my blood, in addition to the soul and the divinity. The reparation to my blood is thus absorbed by that made to the Eucharist, wherein I am everything. I ask that my blood be loved and used for the numberless needs of souls. Do not leave this ocean of power unfruitful, whose waves are given by my blood. But if it would be good for the blood of the Redeemer to receive much greater worship than it does, it is also true that, given its holiness, I entrust this worship and this ministry to the souls most endowed with spiritual gifts. I said worship and ministry. To be ministers of worship, it is not necessary to be priests. Every soul able to be my true disciple is a priest. I do not deny you this honor, and do not deny myself. Nothing is dearer to me than to be drawn upon and sprinkled by loving, pure hands over sterile, stained, sick souls. The consecrated priest sprinkles me over souls in confession, but the obscure priests, consecrated by the love which I alone know, can offer me and sprinkle me over all souls. There is no more meritorious ministry than this ministry of uniting one's blood to that of the great victim, and in a mystical Mass, where I am the celebrant, and you, the acolytes, sacrifice ourselves together, and provide together for the faithful and the unfaithful, who also need my blood and yours, my sacrifice and yours, to find the way of life and truth. Another reason for which I demand greater reparation to me as Eucharist is that the blasphemous imprecations go against the sacrament, whereas the blood, in particular, is spared. The lack of attention surrounding it preserves it. It is better to be overlooked than blasphemed. That is why in justice I tell you that reparation should be made for a great deal regarding the Eucharist, general reparation regarding the sacrament, but special worship by the disciples dearest to my blood. I entrust it to the friends among my friends, as an army in battle secures its flags in the area of the most loyal. So I set my blood in the midst of those I know to be loyal, capable of any sacrifice out of love for their king. And I give you the order to pass among crowds with your hearts full of my blood, so that it will descend upon poor men to save them. Those who extend themselves in the interest of their Lord will receive from the Lord a lofty reward in my kingdom. The Lord says this to you. The Redeemer says this to you. Love says this to you, and so it will be. For God is faithful and truthful and gives 100-fold.